For me, I've always had white coat syndrome. White coat syndrome is I don't trust these fucking doctors. And now after 2020, I sure as fuck don't trust these people. So it's going to take something like it just recently happened where I thought I was having a heart attack. That's what took me to the emergency room. Something short of me losing my life or feeling like I'm going to lose my life. And it wasn't anxious. Like I wasn't anxious like I was when I was a younger man. But I knew enough what I was feeling. That was not normal. So because I'm in my 50s, let's go get it checked out. And EKG, CAT scan, blood work, everything came back perfect. Like I have the numbers of a 20-year-old. But I'm also aware that some of you are not going to correct the things like I was able to correct it when I was a little bit younger. If I would have never made these changes I'm going to cover now, I'm not so certain that my health would be where it is today. I wouldn't be certain that my health of my heart, my organs would be as they are, my blood work. Like, you have no idea how much stress has an effect on your personal body. And you can make lots of money trading, but you could be extremely unhealthy while making lots of money. And what do you get by that? What's the point of having all that money, building up all this worth, and it shortens your lifespan? Well, I don't care, dude. I'm going to live my life right now. You can't take it with you. Yeah, but the word says, why die before the time? Why invite that end result or deteriorate your health so that way as you're building this wealth up, you're making it impossible for you to go out there and live and have a fruitful, bountiful life with it? What's the purpose? Why make all this money if you're not going to be healthy enough to endure, longer lifetime, spending and enjoying and blessing other people with it? What's the point of that? It's pointless. So to have a long, profitable, affluent lifestyle that is a blessing to both you and the people that are around you love and support, your first measure of wealth is your health. And think about how it's been for the last 4 years. Has it been stressful for you? I probably would venture to say it's probably about 65%, if not more, that it's been very stressful. All the things that we've been told we can and can't do. You can't go to funerals. You can't see your loved ones in the hospital. You can't work unless you receive this little thing in your arm ticket. That's all priming for what's about to come. That's all stuff that's leading up to that. And if you don't have faith in what is on the other side of that stuff, it could be very scary. But in trading, every single day you are throwing yourself in the furnace. This pressure cooker of, I don't know what's going to happen, and if I'm wrong, I'm losing money. Contrast that with, I got to get up, got to drive, spend my gas money. That is not a tax deduction for me. I got to drive to my job and get paid. The most I can get paid is what I agreed to, so I prostitute my time. And I don't know what workload's waiting for me. I don't know if someone called out now I have to do their work and mine. Carl's going to be over here and wanting to know what the hell I'm doing, and mine, his business is what he should be doing, but he's not. He's stressing me out. All these things are going to compound. But you're not going to make any more money if the workload is increased for that day. You're not getting overtime because they place more workload on you that day. So you have an expected level of stress to some degree when you have your job. But in trading, you have a total different level of stress. And now you can go to work basically and fuck off and spend time on your computer, listen to me, watching my videos, steal from the boss, which is what you should not be doing, and get through the day bare minimum, low output, low performance, and still not get caught, not get fired, and get away with it. You cannot pull that Mickey Mouse shit off in trading. You have to be on point. You have to be aware of what the risks are. You have to keep these risks measured appropriately for your equity and your skill set and your ability. And if you try to spread your wings too far and outside the scope of what your capabilities are, you are asking, and you should not be surprised by the level of stress that you're feeling. And it's a direct relationship to what you try to put on yourself prematurely. And a lot of that comes in the early stages of your development because you're in a rush to make money. And I'm trying to cultivate the mindset of students and my children too, is that there's plenty of money out there waiting. There's plenty of money out there. And when it's no longer about money, it's about living a principle-oriented life and trading a principle-oriented career. That means you're doing things by the number, not by the stimuli of having the monetary reward. Making money is fun, don't get me wrong. But that's not all of it. Perfect example, I could be making millions of dollars getting all of this information I'm giving out, live streaming. That could be a mentorship. I'm never doing that again. And I'm turning my nose up against millions of dollars because money doesn't make me happy. Money doesn't fill that hole in my heart, in my body, in my mind, in spirit that I get when I help other people, when I'm teaching other people, when I'm investing my time, which I can't get back. I'm pouring it into all of you because I want you to have the lifestyle that I have. Even if you have half of what I have, a quarter of it, or just better than you're at right now, that's a blessing. But it's going to come with stress. And you've already been aware of what stress is in the world. But if you've never traded with real money or had a large loss in trading, you have no idea what anxiety and pressure is. Because if you keep introducing yourself to this stressful environment, not knowing how to engage it, not knowing how to wrestle your intrusive thoughts, you'll fall victim to things that could otherwise be controlled. So let me paint a picture for you, and we'll start going into some of these exercises, and I can get off here to check on my boy. Have you ever watched the market, either in a trade, or maybe it's not, let's keep a broad brush example. Have you ever been in an environment where you had an overwhelming, out of the blue, sudden sense of impending doom, where you feel like you can't catch your breath? Your heart starts palpitating. I mean, it's quickly beating, and you don't know why it's happening. And then you start thinking about how you feel scared all of a sudden, for no known reason that you're aware of. And then you feel like you can't catch your breath. And then because you're breathing faster and your heart's beating, you might feel like you're seeing stars. You feel a little bit dizzy. And you might feel like you want to either shit yourself, for lack of a better word, or pass out, or throw up. And for me, that's how it used to be when I was a younger man. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And as I felt that, if I was in a public environment. Like at a time when I was working as a young man married to my first wife, I had to have a job back then. I was, going to school, learning computer programming, and then I was working a job. And I had very little time for her. And I knew that that was waning on our relationship. And we were too young to have a relationship like that. And we grew apart. But I was stressing that the whole time. And I was worried about her leaving. I was worried about not being successful in what I was learning. And I couldn't convince her to just wait. Trust me, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm not going to be a bum. I'm not going to be laying around doing dumb shit. I'm gonna show us a lifestyle that you can't even imagine. I know it's coming, but you just got to just give me the time to grow to it. She wasn't going to do that. So I would have anxiety attacks. And when she separated, the first time, because we separated several times, but the first time, my body shut down. Like I was in full-blown panic because I couldn't cope without being in a relationship with her. I was codependent to her. I made my whole being as Michael as her husband. And that's all I was. And that's not healthy. That's not good for someone. And if you're in a relationship where that's how you view yourself, that's not your intended purpose. There has to be something outside of just that. Otherwise, it's not healthy and you'll never be fulfilled. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be fulfilled by having a strong connection to your spouse, but if that's all it is, like that's not enough. It's never going to be enough. Because you got to be a mother, a father. You have to have friends. You have to have interactions outside of the house. It's not natural to not be social. We're social beings. But if you can agree with me, take a step back and look at what social media does. It's divisive. It keeps us in tribes. This tribe against that tribe. This race against that race. This sex against that sex. Now we don't know what sex is what now because they're blending and blurring the lines. So it's constantly causing chaos. And it's not a surprise why people are losing their fucking minds because it's stressful. We don't even know who we are as a person anymore, as a people. And now you're asking these individuals that are wrestling with all these problems, these wrestling matches internally, who they are and what their identity is. Now they're going to go in here and compete against the smartest people in the world in the financial markets. And they get the case of the ass when they don't find success right away. This should have worked for me. Why? What did you do to earn it? What have you worked for? What have you done to cultivate and shape your mind with the right mindset so that way you can succeed? Or are you going to tap out to the pressures and the stress it's going to bring on you? Because it's going to bring stress. Every single time you go into the marketplace, you're inviting that opportunity to bring stress on. If you lose money, that's not a fun thing. I've never looked at it and said, man, that was the fastest $50,000. What the hell? Let's do it again. It's not what happens. That's not what happens. You're like, shit, I wish I would have done that. It would have been better if I would have cut the trade sooner or if I would have cut half the trade off. It wouldn't have been as impactful as it was here. And you go back through the process of knowing when you were getting that inclination while you're in the trade. That was your first indication that something ain't right. But what did you do? Oh, I'm going to be stubborn. I'm right. It's not about being right. It's about understanding what it's doing. It's giving you feedback. Price is telling you something. But if you hide away from it, what will happen is your breathing will start to increase. Okay? And that elevated rhythm of breath, more breaths than 10 or 11 per minute, that is going to stimulate adrenaline. Once adrenaline enters your body, which is a normal response, don't ever think that you're getting an adrenaline dump because you got scared or startled for a moment, that's a scary feeling. But when it first happens and you don't expect it, it is a little unnerving. You're like, why do I feel like I'm racing but I'm sitting still? Like I feel like I got to do something. I got to run. I got to take care of something. I got to escape this moment right here. And when I used to work, that's what I would do. I would tell my supervisor, I would tell whoever I was working with, or I would just get up and go to the bathroom. And I would try to calm myself down by splashing cold water on my face. That only works to some degree, and that's it. But I wasn't able to understand what I was doing to myself inside. I was feeding that anxiety. I was feeding it toxic thoughts. And what if, and what if, and what if I'm dying? What if it's a heart attack? What if it's a stroke? And I'm in there by myself in a prison of my own mind, literally tormenting myself with ignorance, not knowing what I was feeling was absolutely normal. Our bodies were created to have a fight or flight response to stress or danger. We have an anatomic nervous system that is behind the scenes. It's running your body. The breathing, the exhale and inhale. You're not consciously thinking about breathing. It just happens. Your body knows what to do. But have you ever had a moment where you feel like you don't know how to breathe anymore, like I was mentioning earlier in the stream? My wife told me this the other day. She was like, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like I forgot how to breathe. Like I got to breathe deeper. I said, okay, I know what you're describing. What are you anxious about? She said, how'd you know? I said, because that only happens by a fearful, triggering thought. You had an intrusive thought into your mind, and you're scared about that, and you're not talking about it to release it. You're not reminding yourself there's no emergency. So your body is naturally responding to what you're fearfully thinking as an internal loop going through your mind, constantly telling yourself there's something bad's about to happen. We allowed our nieces to move into our home, and the older one has gone away to college. She's living on campus, and she was fearful about something that was not likely to happen, but she was fearful of it because she's no longer with us and she's on her own. And she had a little bit of an anxiety attack and she couldn't catch her breath. And I walked her through. I said, listen, this is what you do, okay? If you ever feel discombobulated, and if you are in public setting, if you're around people, quietly and politely excuse yourself. Go to the restroom, okay? If you have the benefit of having your own office space or you're not around other people, then you don't have to worry about this. But the first thing you do is recognize that what you're feeling is just stress. That's all it is. And the first thing you have to do audibly is say, look around, pan around where you're at, and tell yourself out loud, there is no emergency. There is no emergency, and I'm not in any danger. I'm at home in myself right now. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at, and there is no emergency. what I'm feeling is uncertainty about something I absolutely have no control over. So I do have control over how I'm going to respond to it, and I'm choosing not to be fearful of it. It sounds wooden, it sounds artificial, but you need to tell yourself that, because when your subconscious mind hears you say that, that's the first immediate response to activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part that allows you to rest and digest. The anatomic nervous system is divided into two of them. Okay, you have your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is what you have when you go into a fight or flight response, when your heart rate increases, when your breathing increases, when your pupils dilate. They dilate because your body was created to allow more information in, because you're in, I need to protect myself or I'm going to likely die. That's what God has given you, whether you want to acknowledge his existence or not. You can turn off the stream if that bothers you. I don't care. But you were created to have this mechanism, and it runs behind the scene anatomically. That means it's going to do what it's going to do, regardless of whether you're aware of it or not. And because stress is not something that everybody expects to create physical symptoms the first time, it's a little scary. And when you're trading or you're in stressful environments, you're constantly being bombarded with stimuli that's most likely going to trigger these things happening. So if you notice that your heart is beating faster than it should, or what you're used to seeing it feel, beating in your chest, maybe you ever have it beating in your ear, you ever hear your heartbeat? It's a little scary the first time it happens. Like, what's going on? And you start breathing heavier, deeper than you need to. If you're breathing and if your chest is rising when you're breathing, you're hyperventilating. That means you're taking in too much air and likely too fast, and you're likely blowing off your CO2. So what that does is it over-oxygenates your body's bloodstream. And when that's pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream, which is a natural response because your body's designed to release adrenaline, and that's like rocket fuel. Okay, it is designed for your heart to increase its pace, so that way it doesn't have to wait to catch up. Because if you have to run or fight, you're going to need blood in those muscles to defend yourself or fight or run away from the danger. So it's already kicking up the engine, which is your heart, to keep pumping new blood to these muscles that's going to be required to perform. And your body is triggering your lungs to breathe in more oxygen, because you're going to be burning more oxygen as you fight or run away from the danger. But what happens when you're sitting still and you're feeling all these things? You're like a Lamborghini sitting in park with the engine running, and someone's got their foot on the gas pedal to the floor, sitting there. How long do you think that's going to be good for the engine if that's going on? Not long. But that's why you feel like, I got to go, I got to run, I got to do something, because that's what you're designed to do. Because you've told yourself internally that there's an emergency, there's a danger here. And it was triggered by some intrusive thought that has become believed by you that it's a danger. Some kind of scary what if thinking. What if I lose money? What if this trade jumps back and hits my stop loss? What if the market crashes and gaps through my trade? What happens if my wife leaves me? What happens if I get fired? What happens if I don't get the promotion and Carl gets it? You know, all these things. You don't have control over every outcome, and you don't have control over the outcome of your next trade. The only thing you have control over is how you feel and perform and how you react. Because once you place yourself in that trade, you have given all of the outcome and permission to take or add to your account to the marketplace. You've lost all control over your equity, because that stop loss might do its job if the market does trade to it in a manner that's normal delivery. But what happens if there's an attack somewhere and the market gaps down 150 handles? You don't think that can happen? You don't think it can happen just like that? Because it can. That's why I'm telling you, that's why I'm not trading Forex. That's why I felt second guessing about going in and doing this. I've already said I don't want to be in Forex. And I feel like if I talk about Forex, I'm encouraging it when I know what's about to come is not good. So just take my word for it. The things I'm teaching when I'm talking over NASDAQ, unless it's something specific to Forex, I'll tell you. Otherwise, it's both asset classes. I don't know how to say it better. I want to be responsible as a mentor. And I know that's not going to be liked by people that follow me because they're just simply Forex traders. I'm okay. If you want to end our relationship between teacher and student because of that, you can get a taste of ass over that. You're welcome to do that. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to make me angry. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I got to be comfortable in my own skin. And I've warned people about being in Forex for a number of years. And look how I've been trading. It's just ugh. It's not the same as the indices. It's not the same as commodity markets. That's why I went back to them. I'm comfortable there. Okay. I know that there's a big shakeup coming. Something massive is coming. It's going to rock the financial markets. I want to be trading markets that are where I started. I have the most experience with. I believe in these markets, and currencies are going to be affected because there's going to be a change in the monetary system globally. And I don't know how else to say it other than that. Okay. But if you ever had those sensations where you have this quickening of breathing, heart palpitations when it's beating real aggressive and fast, you feel sick to your stomach, you feel like you're going to pass out, you feel dizzy, you feel like you're going to mess yourself, and how embarrassing would that be, right? And that's what I would tell myself. I'm like, I'm at work. I'm around all these people that I work around. How embarrassing if I shit myself in front of people? What happens if I throw up or pass out in front of them? How embarrassing would that be? Not that this is potentially a medical emergency. I could be dying. I didn't think that initially. I was embarrassed about if I lost control of my bowels, if I lost control of what I had in my stomach and threw up in front of someone or passed out. I've never been drunk before. I've never drank alcohol. I've never done drugs before. I had CBD oil when my back was doing its worst in terms of back spasms and pain because I had a compression injury, but I've never done any other drugs ever. Never. I've never been inebriated. I've never been in an altered state. CBD oil with the THC allowed me to relax in a manner I've never relaxed before. And I only used it for a year and a half, and I've never used it since. It's been years since I've used it. So I don't take any kind of stimulant. I don't take any kind of mind-altering thing. And I don't drink coffee. I don't drink soda. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't do any of those things. And you might do those things recreationally, and I'm not going to judge you for it. But I will say that if you're drinking things that are caffeinated and you're trading, you're greatly increasing the likelihood of you having unnecessary levels of stress. And what will happen is you'll get accustomed to it. Okay. And high blood pressure, you don't necessarily feel it in the early stages of it. Like stage 1 hypertension, you generally don't feel that. Stage 2, you might, maybe not. But that is really hard on your body. And if you're constantly giving yourself that Monday through Friday, every single day, you can eat well. You can exercise. You can avoid all these drugs and alcohol, do all those things. But guess what you're doing? You're tearing up your body because you're in a heightened state of panic, fight or flight. You're in war mode. If you are feeling heart palpitations when you're trading, your chances are you're over leveraging, or you're not trading with a model that you trust and you're just chasing price. If you're all hopped up on goofballs, chances are if you took your blood pressure, it's probably sky high. Don't believe me? Get yourself one on Amazon. It's real simple. Just get it, plug it in, put the batteries in it, put your arm up on the table, and let it do it. Do your blood pressure when you first wake up in the morning, and then do it right when you started trading. Do it. And you're going to find something that's going on that's a physiological response that you weren't aware of. And you're constantly putting yourself in that state of stressful thinking, stressful outcomes being measured as, I got to be right or wrong, I got to be profitable or protect what I have, I don't want to lose more money, I don't want to lose money. And you're looking at a chart fluctuating up and down, and chances are you have no idea what you're doing. You have no logic behind why you're watching those charts. You're hoping and praying, and that's not a model. That's not a model. But you see people out there trying to do that all the time, and you have probably been doing that too. And it's not comfortable, is it? Not knowing what you're doing. It's scary. So what happens when you start feeling that? How can you combat that? How can you wrestle with it? If it's not in trading, it just happens to be in any other given time. Because if you probably had an anxiety attack or experienced these things before, it's amazing if nothing continues to scare you. Usually about 10 to 15 minutes later, you're fine. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, what was that? It's anxiety. You got to the point where adrenaline was released in your bloodstream, which is a natural thing. That's a natural thing. You should be thankful that you're given that ability because it enables you to be stronger, faster, more responsive and reactive to dangers. But how do you get back to a regulated nervous system where you're comfortable, where you can digest food and rest? Because if you're anxious, you can't sleep. When you're anxious, your food doesn't digest well. That's why you have a nervous stomach. You ever heard the term, oh, I have a nervous stomach, and you ate something that's probably healthy, but you may have diarrhea. You may have a constipation going on. It's because when you are staying in this condition of fight or flight, which is where your sympathetic nervous system has been turned on, it's real easy to turn that on because it's fear-induced. If you keep doing that, if you keep allowing stressful environments to stimulate that aspect of your nervous system, what'll happen is it gets caught in a loop, and you stay in this loop where you have elevated blood pressure, you have elevated heart rate, you have elevated inhalation and breath. So you're constantly feeding yourself levels of toxicity that you're not able to burn off. If you feel anxious, if it starts off like that, and it hasn't released cortisol, and I'll tell you what that means and how you know when it's done that in a moment, but let me get through this part first. The first thing you do is look around where you're at and you tell yourself out loud, I'm safe and there is no emergency. I'm absolutely safe in my own skin, comfortable, and I'm right where I need to be. There is no emergency. And I am just feeling the symptoms of an intrusive thought, and I am choosing not to be fearful. What your subconscious is going to hear, and it's going to draw from this is, oh, okay, this is just like anything else. It's a jump scare. So turn everything back to normal in your parasympathetic nervous system, where you go back to normal relaxation, the normal functions of everyday life, where you can fall asleep if you sit still long enough, and you can digest your food if you eat something. That's the normal functions of your body when it's not in fight or flight. But what happens if that isn't enough? Well, that means you probably have adrenaline coursing through your body, so you have to find yourself a way to burn that off. The easiest way to do that is just simply take a walk. It doesn't need to be a fast-paced walk, just walk. But what happens if you work at a cubicle and you can't get up and just walk because that's going to draw attention to yourself? You're expected to be in your cubicle doing something, okay? Then you simply do body tension, where you try to flex all of your muscles at the same time, and you squeeze that for as long as you can until fatigue. And you just relax. When you stop squeezing all your muscles, that means tightening your biceps, squeezing your fists, squeezing your thighs, squeezing your ass, like everything in your body. Squeeze your lats, your pecs, hold that tension up to 2 minutes. And then at the end of 2 minutes, slowly release everything. As slow as you can possibly do it, slowly do it. The whole time, you're taking relaxed breathing. Not trying to count anything, you're just doing relaxed breathing because your focus is going to be on the ability of holding your muscles tight. What that does, it blocks the intrusive thoughts. That means that you can't think about anything else except for the constant tension in your body. Your anxiety attack was triggered by a what if thought. What if this happens? What if that happens? Nothing physically was there threatening you. It's just something that you thought about scary that you know deep down inside you have no control over, and that scared you, and you're afraid of the outcome being adverse to you. So you combat that by subduing your thought, replacing it with something positive. You're not going to get hurt by holding your muscles clenched up for 2 minutes. It's actually going to help your blood pressure lower down. And it's going to replace that intrusive thought or repeating loop of scary thinking and what if thinking to you constantly thinking about, okay, I'm keeping my lats tight. I'm squeezing my pecs. I'm squeezing my biceps. My forearm muscles are squeezing. I'm squeezing my fists as hard as I can. I'm squeezing my thighs. I'm squeezing my calves. I'm flexing everything. And it's a fatiguing thing. And that's how you burn the adrenaline off. It only takes a couple minutes. But there is a stage that goes past that where you stay in that fight or flight thought process in anxiety and it turns into full-blown panic. A panic attack is when cortisol is released. That's your stress hormone. Your body releases this chemical in your body to compensate for high levels of stress. And when it's released in your bloodstream, it lays down cholesterol in your arteries. That's the way it protects the arteries because it's toxic. If you don't burn through it by running and fighting and doing what's been given to you as a superhuman characteristic, it's your mutant power. Everybody has this in ourselves. But if you don't use it appropriately, it's like that Lamborghini sitting in the garage with the engine running, and you got the gas pedal all the way to the floor. The engine's going to be screaming, but it's going nowhere. That's what a panic attack is. Your body's saying, let's go, let's do something, fight, or let's get the hell out of here. But you're sitting still, not knowing what's going on. And you're going to be in front of your charts, and you're going to have this happen one day. And as soon as you start feeling body symptoms, that's when you know you're at the early stages of full-blown panic. What does it feel like? You'll start feeling tingling in your face. When I would have it, it would always start with my left eyebrow towards the end, the edge of my face. It would start like a tingling that would go down that right underneath my left eye and then go down to my upper lip and down into my chin. So naturally, what am I thinking? I'm having a stroke. I'm having a stroke. And I would get up. I'm in a trade. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What am I doing here? And then I'm telling myself there's something scary. So what is that? I'm feeding it, right? So I have adrenaline coursing through my body. I have now cortisol releasing in my body. And now I'm feeling physical body symptoms. And it's scaring me. And I'm telling myself I'm having a stroke. So what do you think my brain's saying? Shit! We are having a stroke. We got to do something. What do? I don't know. But let's keep pumping all these chemicals because we have to fight or flight. You can't run from a stroke. You can't run from a heart attack. But I was feeding my brain something terrible is happening to me. Something terrible is about to happen to me. So you're feeding all that stuff. So as soon as you start feeling body symptoms, you might start seeing stars, like the little squiggly things that go around in your eyes. That's if you ever watch a cartoon where Tom and Jerry would hit the cat over top of the head, and Tom would be like, oh shit, and you'd see little stars or little birds flying around as a cartoon analogy to seeing stars. If you turn your head real far to the right or left and hold it there, and then quickly turn it back, chances are you'll probably see stars because you're constricting the blood vessels inside your neck, and then you're quickly bringing it back to the front. You'll see stars. Or if you get dizzy, you feel like you're woozy or whatever. That's usually also a symptom when cortisol is released in your bloodstream. And that's an effect of you sitting still when you are in full-blown panic and you need to be doing something. Walk. Body tension. But you absolutely have to now, at this point, you have to start changing and regulating your breath. With adrenaline, it's just a time thing. It'll burn off. But when you start feeling body symptoms of, I feel like I'm going to be sick, I feel like I'm going to be passing out, I feel like I'm going to shit myself, I feel like I'm going to, die, basically. The way you capture that and subdue it is, again, say out loud that there is no emergency. I choose not to be afraid. And all I'm doing is responding, and my body's responding to a scary thought. There is no emergency. I'm safe where I'm at. I choose not to be afraid. And when you do this, your subconscious hears that. It starts the process of activating your parasympathetic nervous system. That means that it's going to go through your brain, down your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in your body. It goes down from the stem of the brain, down both sides of your neck, behind the carotid artery, on both sides, right behind your ears, drops down behind your collarbones. It literally attaches to every major organ, to your heart, to your lungs, liver, kidneys, all the way through it, okay, into your colon. If you're in full-blown panic, say you're in a cubicle and you don't want to add more confusion or attention to yourself, because that's making also a source of anxiety, because you don't want people thinking you're losing your mind, you're crazy, because you're going to feel like you are. Like you're at your wit's end, you feel like it's going to unravel. It's a scary, sickening feeling, but it's a normal feeling. I want you to know that. It's a normal response to stress. If you let it go unchecked, what you're feeling is absolutely normal, and it's something that you can quickly reset. I'm going to teach it to you now, okay? When we're breathing normally, we're not thinking about it. We don't think about our breath. It just happens. But when you enter stressful environments, or you're trying to combat stress becoming a panic attack, or if you are in a panic attack, this is your first skill set. You've already said to yourself there's no emergency, and you're choosing not to be afraid, and you're comfortable where you are, and you're safe. You have to say it audibly. You can't say it in your head. You got to say it out loud. If you can't do that, try to excuse yourself to the bathroom where you feel comfortable doing it. It only takes a couple minutes to get yourself regulated, okay? So the first thing you want to do is, if you have your phone or if you have a watch, it's better to have like a sweep second hand on your watch. Anybody with a digital watch today is an idiot. You should always have a nice Swiss piece and put a sweep second hand on it. If you don't have that on your phone, just turn on the timer. And you need a minimum of 1 minute. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit still, okay, and you're going to try to relax and put your fingers on your wrist and find your pulse. Chances are it's going to be going real, real fast. You're not trying to tell yourself it's too fast. You're not trying to acknowledge that it's too fast, but you're going to feel that it's probably elevated. That's a normal thing. That's not something dangerous. It feels like it's dangerous. It feels scary, but it's absolutely normal. I used to freak out when I was checking my pulse, and I would go through this coping skill, and it scared me. And I'm telling you, there's no reason for you to be afraid of it. It's your body doing what it's designed to do, protect you, okay? So because I'm right-handed, I would take my two fingers, my index and my middle finger, and I would find my pulse on my left wrist. And it would be tapping away, and then I would watch the sweep second hand on my watch. If I don't have this on me, I'm watching a digital counter of a timer. And because I was more prone to have panic attacks, I literally had a sports stopwatch. I literally had, it was like one of my little comfort things. Like I asked one time before, do you ever fidget when you're trading? There was a thing a couple years ago, a fidget spinner. I have a deck of cards. A deck of cards helps me keep my focus on something external from price. Because I'm in a very large position, the way I manage that is I don't think about the money. I'm thinking about the cards, the deck of cards in my hand, and I riffle through the cards. You probably heard them in live streams, or you probably heard them in old Twitter spaces. You hear this riffling sound. That's just simply me riffling my thumb down the side of the deck. What you're doing is you're distracting yourself by checking your pulse, and then you're going to count the beats of your pulse for a minimum of 1 minute. So you find the first beat and you count that, and you keep counting until this 1 full minute has gone by. What you're doing is you're taking your attention away from whatever intrusive thought, that scary way of thinking. You can't think that right now. You can't. It's impossible for you to have two thoughts in your head at the same time. It's impossible. So you have to separate yourself at a minimum of 1 minute. Now, it may take a little bit longer than 1 minute, but at least in 1 minute, that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That means it's going to slowly restore back to rest or digest, or rest and digest, where your body is normalized. It's regulated your nervous system. You're not in panic mode. If you're in a trading environment that you're constantly putting yourself in fearful of, you're probably stuck in a deregulated nervous system. That means you're constantly in a fight or flight. And you'll know that because of how you feel when you're done. When you leave trading, are you exhausted? Are you completely wiped out? You've worn out? Chances are you were in this heightened state of fight or flight. That means your sympathetic nervous system has been activated, and you have been looping through that. Your heart rate's been probably elevated the entire time. You probably had high blood pressure the entire time. You've probably been in an elevated respiratory cycle where you're breathing too much air. And while you're watching the 1 minute transpire and you're counting the beats of your heart, the only thing you can think of is keeping track of the counting. Describe the color of your car and what model and make it is while you're counting your pulse. Can you do that? Nobody fucking can. That's proof that you can't have an intrusive thought. So by counting the beats of your pulse while you're watching 1 minute transpire, you're physically separating yourself from intrusive, scary thoughts. That's what started the panic attack. That's what started the fearful event that released the adrenaline, that released the cortisol, or will eventually release the cortisol. And when cortisol enters your bloodstream, then you're really going to feel body symptoms. And if you've never felt that before, you are absolutely going to shit yourself. Maybe not literally, but preferably. It's scary. It's very, very scary. You feel like you're losing all, you feel like you're undone, like you're going to fall out and die. And that's a normal response. Your body is doing something to get you to run away or fight. And if you're not burning those chemicals off, you're going to feel all that uncomfortable state because you're sitting still doing nothing. But after 1 minute of counting your pulse out loud, 1, every time it beats 2, 3, 4, and you're watching the sweep second hand on your watch, or you're watching the countdown on some kind of digital counter, whether it be your phone or whatnot, that's what starts. It takes literally 30 to 60 seconds for your parasympathetic nervous system to activate. There are faster ways to turn it on. I'll teach you that in a minute. But this is the first one where you start to talk yourself down. Okay? As you're counting them, as you're counting the heartbeat, every 15 seconds you can tell yourself, I'm safe, there's no emergency, and then go back to counting. So what you're doing, you're breaking up that 1 minute every 15 seconds, and you're reminding yourself, there's no emergency, I'm safe. There's no emergency, I'm safe. And at the end of the 1 minute, you say out loud, I'm having a stressful reaction to a scary thought. There is no emergency. I choose not to be afraid. And do another 1 minute. Within that 2 minutes, the adrenaline will not release into your body. You'll stave off the attempts of cortisol being released in your body. Your breath will be reduced down to a normal cycle of breathing. It won't be elevated to 18 to 25 breaths a minute. And you won't be heaving with your chest. You need to be breathing from your belly button. Deep belly breathing is a physical exercise that will allow you to compensate for the scary stimuli that you're feeling as a result of those two chemicals, adrenaline and cortisol. They are natural hormones that are being released into your bloodstream for the purpose of protecting you. But if you don't understand that, you think it's killing you. You think your body is dying, and it's not. It's doing everything it's designed to do. And that's a normal, reassuring thing. But what happens if you need to quickly get a hold of yourself, and you can't do it like that? But you feel it coming on. You feel a little bit stressed out. And you don't feel the effects of adrenaline coming in, but you just feel like, if I don't get control of myself, I can see it coming. I can feel it coming. Or stress is beginning to come into your day. How can you get yourself prepared to unwind and release that immediately? Well, what you want to do is you want to take a deep, slow breath. Okay, and I mentioned this in a Twitter, not Twitter space, but a live stream. Not the last one, I think the one before, but you want to take your breath, breathe it all out first. Wherever you're at in your breathing, just breathe it all out. All the exhale out. And have empty lungs. At the moment it's empty, it's going to be hard for you, most of you, doing it the first time. Hold that empty lung state for 4 seconds. You're going to feel like you want to breathe in. Don't. Just relax. And then at the end of 4 seconds, slowly breathe in, but breathe in from your belly. Try not to raise your chest up. You want to make your stomach stick out like a baby. When a baby breathes, you ever watch a baby breathe? It's belly breathing all the time. It's not raising its chest up. The only time it's raising its chest up is when it's crying. What is it doing? It's having an anxiety attack. That's why it's crying. It's uncomfortable. That's why it's breathing with its chest up and down. So you're going to breathe from an exhale state, empty lung, after 4 seconds. You're going to breathe in from your belly, and you're going to try to focus on all the air going into your lungs, going down to your belly, and your belly should stick out from your navel. Imagine your belly extending out as you breathe in. And at the point when you breathe in slow, you want it to be about 4 to 5 seconds inhalation, nothing longer than that. But at the time where you think that you've breathed in a full inhalation, quickly sniff through your nose the last little piece of pocket of empty space and go like this. It's like, say, I breathe in, and then they go. Whatever little bit of air you can suck in with that last little sniff, Hold that for 2 to 3 seconds, and then slowly let the air fall out, but with pursed lips. That means like you're going to whistle, but you're not whistling. You're letting the air leave your lungs with pursed lips, but it has to be double the amount of time that you inhale. So if you are counting how many seconds you're breathing in, if it's 4, then you got to exhale at least for 8 seconds. If you inhale for 5 seconds, you have to exhale for 10 seconds. The first few times you do this, it's not, especially when you're in panic, it's going to be uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the quicker you'll be able to get into a parasympathetic nervous system. You're regulating your nervous system. That way, all these scary things and feelings you're feeling, it's going to be hard for you to concentrate. But the first thing you have to do is get control of your breath. If cortisol is in your bloodstream and you're feeling body symptoms, the quickest way to overcome that and regulate yourself is through breath. But what happens if you feel it coming, you know that you're under stress, but you want to reset your nervous system real quick? It's this breathing exercise. 2 or 3 times, I'll literally do it. It kind of sounds weird. It's going to feel weird listening to it, but I want you to hear what you're going to do. And I'm sure people are going to listen to it and be making jokes about it, and they can fuck right off. But the point is, eventually, they're going to have a stressful environment. And if they use this, they're going to see how fast it fixes it. It completely resets your nervous system. You can't have a panic attack. If you control your nervous system, you can't go in panic, period. That's the end of the story. And then you won't release the adrenaline, which then eventually releases cortisol. That's the stage. That's the way. That's the process. That's how it works. So to keep that from happening, as soon as you start to feel stress, like, oh no, I'm getting ready to take this trade, but I might miss it, and you feel stress, do this. Exhale. At the end of the exhalation, hold it for 4 seconds and then repeat it. Do that 3 times. You got no fucking anxiety. You got no fucking panic attack. It ain't coming, and you're going to have oxygenation. You're going to feel dialed the fuck in. You're going to feel like you're perfectly right where you're supposed to be at. That's how you prevent stress turning into anxiety, and then anxiety turning into full-blown panic attack. That's the stages of dealing with stress. If you feel the adrenaline getting ready to probably release the cortisol, and you just can't find yourself to come down from it, and you're looping in this sympathetic nervous system response, fight or flight. There's 2 parts of your body where your vagus nerve, which is the nerve that runs from your brain that lays down over top of all of your organs, okay? There's 2 places in our body where it's closest to the surface of the skin where we can stimulate it. It's directly behind your ears at the bottom of your earlobe. Go back about a half an inch, okay? And first of all, find the point of your jaw on both sides of your face. Put your index fingers on the corner of your jawbone, and then go back about a half an inch, okay? And then go straight up to where you're behind your ear. If you take your index finger or your index finger and your middle finger together, the fingertips, you don't want to do this too hard. Just like if you're petting a puppy's head, you're going to do that same thing, going behind your ear, straight down the side of your neck until you touch the tops of your collarbone, or the top of your shoulder, rather. And you're going to do that multiple times for about a minute. What you're doing is you're stimulating your vagus nerve, and by stimulating your vagus nerve, that is the nerve that controls your heartbeat. If you stimulate that, what it'll do is, and you're breathing relaxed. That means slow in-breaths for 4 seconds to 5 seconds, and then slow release, relax for 8 to 10 breaths, 8 to 10 seconds rather, for the exhale. Your exhale, the key to you controlling your breath and stress and anxiety is that your exhales have to be double what the time is of your inhalation. When you're inhaling, your heart rate increases. Don't believe me? Measure it. When you exhale, your heart rate drops. It relaxes. So if you have a heart palpitation, how do you do it? How do you fix it? Slow, shallow inhales, long exhalations. That long exhalations for a few minutes will completely take away your heart palpitation. Now, if you're having a medical emergency and you're doing this for 5 minutes and your heart rate ain't coming down, you probably should see medical treatment, because you're probably having something that is beyond the scope of generalized anxiety. But I have had very, very high blood pressure, and it was me being fearful of a recent attack of vertigo. I've never had vertigo before. I've only had 1 episode of it, but it lingered over a span of 2 or 3 days. But the biggest part of it was this one big attack that happened at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was in a constant state of expectation that it was going to happen again, thinking that it was a stroke, thinking it was heart failure, something like that. And I wasn't willing to go to the hospital yet. So I had this period of elevated high blood pressure because of constant feeding myself. What if I am having a stroke? What if I am having a heart attack? And I bought myself a blood pressure cuff. I bought 2 of them. I had 2 of them giving me a reading. And they were very close to one another, but I was getting very, very high readings that should have put me in a trip to the emergency room to get checked out. And then I started applying these skill sets that I'm teaching you here. And then I brought my blood pressure down to 110/60. Now, 110/60, that's fucking phenomenal. Like that's a very good, healthy blood pressure. They want you to have, I think it's 120/80. It used to be lower than that, but I think they're making compensations for the diet they feed everybody. But 110/60, and I was able to accomplish that when I was having readings of 186/120. I'm sorry, 186/115, something like that. There's a few times I had 120, 126, but that's elevated. Like that's an elevated blood pressure. So you want to be able to fix that if you can, but staying like that's not healthy. And in 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes of doing these breathing exercises, I would drop the blood pressure that I was describing to you down to healthy levels. So that means that I don't have blood pressure that's prolonged and stayed in that condition. It just means that I was under pressure of stress that was all self-induced by scary way of thinking. And my heart rate was tacking around 120 beats per minute consistently. So that's doing what? It's holding a level of fight or flight. So I was trapped in a loop inside my sympathetic nervous system. So it was it was deregulated. So I had to regulate my nervous system. And that's breathing exercises, self-talk, and isolated muscle tension. Those exercises, doing that. And then a 20-minute walk. All those things will combat stress. You'll keep panic from happening. But what happens if you want another skill set? Say none of these, say box breathing, what I was just describing, say that's not working for you. Because unfortunately, sometimes that breathing exercise itself doesn't work, and they need to have an immediate response where they can feel relaxation come over top. And how can you do that? Well, as I mentioned before, if you can find yourself a way to stretch, like when you're in bed, before you go to bed, every morning you should do this. Stretch yourself. Like stretch your arms, elongate yourself one side longer than the other, reach your arm above your head on the bed and stretch your legs lift out. Really stretch out there. And what'll happen is you'll stretch and you'll get this really good morning yawn. And then when you're done yawning, you feel really relaxed. As soon as you yawn, you have activated your parasympathetic nervous system. That means you immediately turned it on. There's no delay there. It's immediate. It's immediate. You're not bringing it down with breathing exercises. You immediately just turned it on. I talked about how, because I'm a dog owner, I'm a pet parent, if you have a dog, you should watch them. Before they go to sleep, you ever notice how fast it takes them? It takes a little time for a dog to fall asleep. They go to their laying spot. They'll walk around several times because they want to smell their own paw print. Their paw pads have their scent glands in them, and they walk until they smell their own scent. And then they lay down. And as soon as they get themselves comfortable in their position, they'll do this. Instantly, they're asleep. What did they just do? They activated their parasympathetic nervous system. That's what they just did. And then they could go to sleep. So if you're having problems with insomnia, which I battled with my entire life, when I need to sleep, and because I don't, and I answered this young man that was on Twitter earlier saying, because I told everybody, I said this before, I sleep in 2 periods of 4 hours. And I couldn't do that when I was working, obviously. I needed to sleep more. I needed more recuperation time. But because I don't work, I don't have a stressful life. I sleep for 4 hours. I sleep when I feel like I need to sleep. And then I get up, I do whatever I want to do. And when I feel the need for sleep, I'll sleep for 4 hours. And in between those, if I need to take a cat nap of 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, I will. But I don't ever feel, oh, I'm tired, I'm lethargic, okay. Because I don't burn out because I'm sitting in traffic, back and forth, commuting. I don't work with Carl. I don't spend 8 hours, 12 hours a day. I don't work 6 hours a week. 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I don't work a part-time job in addition. Like I have a very comfortable lifestyle. So the demand for sleep for me is lower than what it would be for everyone else. So when I say, when you live my lifestyle where you're not going to work, you're going to find that you don't need a lot of sleep. It's actually not good for you to have that much sleep if you're not stressfully burning yourself out. But if you're constantly in a state of stress and you're constantly working hard at a job that requires you to constantly go, you're going to need a lot more time to sleep and recuperate. But I don't have that type of lifestyle, so that's why my life doesn't demand that measure of level of stress, basically. I'm sorry, sleep for stress. So let's do an exercise real quick, and then I'm going to close this. I've done enough today. I want you, wherever you're at, if you're driving a car, please don't do this, okay? But if you're home, if you're comfortable, okay, I want you to sit up in your chair, okay? Sit up, straighten your back out, okay? And then what I want you to do is stare straight ahead with your eyes open. Your eyes are going to stay open the entire time. Do not close your eyes. You can blink when you need to blink, but don't close them. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to keep everything as it is. Your head straight, your back straight, pull your shoulders back a little bit, just that way you have good posture. And then I want you to take your eyeballs and turn as far as you can, just your eyes. You're not turning your head. Your nose stays pointing straight ahead. But you're going to turn your eyeballs, both your left and right eyeball points, as far as you can, turn them to the right. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you're going to hold that for 30 seconds, okay? Give me a second while you're getting yourself comfortable here. I want to set my timer. Okay, on a stopwatch, I'm going to tell you to look as far as you can with your eyes open, blink when you feel like you need to, but keeping your nose straight ahead, your back straight, your shoulders pulled back. Only turn your eyes as far as you can to the right. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you want to wander your eyes around, move them around. Don't. Stay there starting right now. You're going to keep looking as far as you can, just with your eyeballs to the right, holding them there as far as you can. It's normal for you to feel like you want to move your eyeballs around. Don't. Keep trying to look to the right. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable. You're not going to hurt yourself. It's not going to hurt your vision. Everything's normal. You got 15 seconds left. Just keep doing it. Keep holding it. Keep your nose straight ahead, but you're turning your eyes as far as you can to the right. As far as you can, as far as you can, as far as you can. Okay? And now look straight ahead. So your eyes are pointing straight ahead with your nose. Did you feel like you wanted to take a deep breath and sigh, or did you yawn at any time during that time period? Did you feel the need to want to do that? If you didn't, it's okay. But if you did, you just activated your parasympathetic nervous system. Now you're going to do the same thing to the left. Nose straight ahead, shoulders back. Look as far as you can to the left with both your eyes. As far as you can look into the left side of your eye, corner of your eye. Keep looking there as hard as you can. Okay, I'm going to start the timer again. Keep looking as far as you can with your eyes to the left. Anytime you feel like you got to blink, just blink. But don't look away. Don't move it around with your eyeballs. Just keep looking to the left as far as you can. If it's uncomfortable, it's okay. It's not going to hurt your vision. It's not going to hurt your eyes. You got 14 seconds left. Just relax and just keep holding it there. Keep holding it there. And you might have an involuntary sigh, or you feel like you want to yawn. If you feel like you want to yawn, yawn. That's how you activate. If you can't make yourself yawn, this is how you can get to happen. But if you sigh, it's the same thing. You can relax now, look straight ahead. That's how you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. You can do that at your job. You can do that wherever you're at. You just don't want to be doing it while you're driving. You can imagine the complications in driving a motor vehicle while doing that. Okay? So as long as you're in a safe environment where you can do that, you can immediately activate your your parasympathetic nervous system. And when you do that, you immediately turned off the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. That means you turned it off. Your body will not release adrenaline. It will not release cortisol. It turns it off immediately. In the evening time, when you're ready to bed down and go to sleep, or when you're done your trading day and you're done, you're going to go about the regular things you do in the day, do that exercise. Or stretch yourself, stretch your arms and your body with the intended purpose of finding that elusive yawn. Because if you yawn, enjoy it. Really, really savor that yawn. Because when you do that, you have immediately activated your parasympathetic nervous system. That means you turned off all stress hormone production. You've turned off all fight or flight. You've completely entered into the rest and digest state of mind. You'll be able to go to sleep at nighttime if you do that before you go to bed. You'll be able to fall asleep faster. You'll be able to sleep more soundly. And when you wake up, start your day the same way. If you don't realize it, when you wake up in the first few minutes of your morning, you probably are thinking about what if this and what if that and what do I got to do here? I don't really want to go to work. You're immediately flooding yourself with what? Bad, toxic thoughts. And the average person, and I learned this from Lucinda Bassett's book, Attacking Anxiety. Okay, back in 2001 when I had all the anxiety attacks, I was buying everything I could for coping skills for managing anxiety. And she brought up a statistic that I thought was kind of silly when she first introduced it in her book. I thought, there's no way I'm thinking that many times a negative thought. And I was actually doing more than that. Over 300 times a day, the average person thinks about something toxic, scary, or self-defeating. And every single time that you notice yourself doing that, keep account of it and tell yourself, I don't need to think that way. And there's no reason why I should be thinking that way. I'm an overcomer. I'm comfortable. I'm healthy. I'm moving towards success. And I don't choose to be fearful. You're giving yourself self-talk. You're coaching yourself. You're replacing these negative, intrusive thoughts, and you're coaching yourself to think about things positively. You can't have a negative thought when you're expressing a positive self-talk. You can't share the same space. It can't share at the same time. So this is what I've done over my lifetime to conquer fear, conquer anxiety. I have absolutely no anxiety. I have no fear at all. I have nothing. But that physical symptom of vertigo, which was a small little calcium deposit that broke away inside my inner ear, it moved inside one of my tubes in my ear. And it tricks your brain because it's piped directly into your brain. The nerve is from your ear. It makes you feel like you're spinning. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, being woke up, feeling I'm spinning around 100 miles an hour, it's a very scary feeling. And when your eyes start twitching, because your brain's saying you're spinning, but you're really not, your eyes thinking, okay, I'm spinning. And it's almost like your eyeballs are in a spasm or a seizure. And I couldn't see. I just saw things spinning around like I was on a carousel, but it was spinning violently. But after about 30 seconds, the crystal settled down and stopped moving around. But I felt like that was going to happen for days after, all over again. But I've since learned how, if I had that experience again, I know there's 2 specific routines that I can do to make that be alleviate the sensation of that dizziness. It's not going to be pleasurable, I'm sure, but at least I know now how to deal with it. I have a coping skill should I ever have another bout of vertigo. And that was self-inflicted because the day before, I inverted myself about 10 different times in a short span of time. I was doing biceps, I was doing lat pull downs and such, and then I would elongate my back by going upside down between sets. And I kept doing that. And I think what happened was because the blood pressure building up in my head going upside down multiple times in a short period of time, it broke away one of those little calcium deposits that we have naturally in our brain, in our ear. And when that breaks off and goes into your inner ear, it tricks your brain because it takes spatial displacement in that little gel that's inside our ears, and it tells your brain that you're spinning when you're not. And it's a very scary and uncomfortable feeling. But apart from that moment, in that time, I had no anxiety. Like I haven't had anxiety in years, long time, like decades, really. But I used the coping skills I just taught you here today. And I'm certain that if you are stressful while you're in trades, if you do these things, like when when you feel like you're being stressed out while you're in a trade, do that one breathing technique where you exhale everything, hold it for 4 seconds, inhale slow, 4 to 5 seconds. And at the top of what you think is a full inhalation, sniff through your nose, the last little piece of pocket space to fill up. Hold that for 2 to 3 seconds, and then slow exhale, 8 seconds to 10 seconds, whatever you can do comfortably. And at the end of the exhale, wait 4 seconds, and then repeat it again. Do at least 2 to 3 times of that. You'll immediately shake off the anxiety. You won't have any stress. It fixes it immediately. And you can do that anywhere. You can do it while you're driving. You can do it at work. Nobody knows what you're doing. It's a very relaxing, immediate triggering of centering yourself and recalibrating your nervous system. And that's exactly what you want to be trading in. You want to have a parasympathetic state of mind where your nervous system is at rest and digest. When you're in a state of fight or flight, if you eat, your food will not digest, because when you're in that state of mind, what happens is it dilates your pupils. That way you can take in more information from your vision. You need to see the dangers coming at you. When you're telling yourself there is one, there ain't one. Your heart rate increases so that we can run faster and be stronger because it's pumping blood to the muscles it's going to be required for you to run or fight with. Your inhalation is happening more increased because it wants to bring oxygen to those muscles that's being pumped through the increased blood flow from your heart rate increased. And it turns off your digestive system. It literally turns off the ability for you to piss. Those are physiological responses. You ever notice how you might have to pee? Oh, I gotta pee. And if you get scared, guess what happens? Either you're going to immediately piss yourself, or you lose all sensation that you need to pee because now your sympathetic nervous system has turned on. It turns off the ability for you to go to the bathroom. It turns it off. If you can't pee, you can't urinate when you're in that state of mind because you can't stop. You have to fight or flight. That's how you know there's a designer. That's how you know there's a creator. But I hope you learned something today. I hope I was helpful in some capacity. I hope I gave you something to you cope with the everyday stresses that you can absolutely keep from turning into full-blown panic. And you can keep yourself in a more centered state of mind while you're trading. And that way you can keep yourself composed. You don't want to be trading with a fight or flight stimuli, in your brain, and you're wrestling with a clouded mind, because you can't think clearly if you're in panic. You can't protect your money, and you can't make money in a state of mind that's full of panic. So now you have multiple skill sets. You have multiple things that you can now apply to your life and remove and start controlling stress. If you want to look at things more about, just do research on the anatomic nervous system and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, and look at things about the vagus nerve. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the other one. I told you I have two places in the body. If you're stimulating the vagus nerve behind your ears going down the sides of your neck, you're lightly stroking the behind your ear down to your neck. What that's doing is it's stimulating your vagus nerve. So if it's calmed down, it won't send signals to your heart to increase your heart rate, which won't increase your lung inhalation rate to increase, which won't trigger the adrenaline release, which won't release cortisol if left unchecked. That's the natural progression of everything happening in your body, which is a normal function. It's not something abnormal. But if you're not doing anything while you're putting yourself through that, it can make you feel a little scary. The other part of your body, and this is something you do in your cubicle if you're stuck at work or if you're stuck in traffic and you're having stress or anxiety. I used to have anxiety attacks in traffic when I used to have a job. I hated being stuck in traffic. I was like, what happens if I have to use the bathroom? Like, how embarrassing would that be if I had to all of a sudden now have to use the bathroom? And I've had anxiety attacks over something stupid as that. Silly, isn't it? Probably laughing at me, right? I used to laugh at it, feel like, why the hell am I going to shit myself here in this traffic? I'm in the middle lane. Nobody's moving. I can't get off. There's no exit ramps. Like, there's nothing I can do. What happens if I have to go to the bathroom? It never happened, mind you. But that was a really stupid, intrusive thought that made a huge, scary feeling all the time for me. I hated being in traffic for that reason. But what you do is you take your middle finger, okay, usually use your stronger hand, and you literally place the tip of your middle finger of your strongest hand and place it inside your belly button, okay? And for men, some of you women might feel this too, and again, this is the reason why children should not be listening to my lecture, okay? We're all adults here. I know some dickheads and little childhood mentality people are going to take this out of context. But if you place your middle finger inside your belly button as deep as you can without hurting yourself, obviously, and then you slowly make a circular pattern, okay, counterclockwise, you may feel, if you're a male, your penis, you might feel something in your penis, and a woman may feel that in her clitoris. That's your vagus nerve, or vagus nerve rather, being stimulated. If you're sitting still and you're in a position where you can do that to calm yourself down, you're in full-blown panic. If you do that for about 2 to 3 minutes while controlling your breath, you'll immediately come out of anxiety and you'll immediately regulate your sympathetic nervous system. You'll activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So you'll be comforted. It's not masturbation, so stop kidding around with yourself. And I know some of you have a childhood mentality here, but there's two places in our body that the vagus nerve is closest to the skin where it can be stimulated to calm yourself down. That's the nerve that triggers and controls all of your organs and the response to stress. So if you're stimulating the sides of your neck with the vagus nerve behind your ears, and you don't want to do that too hard because it can cause you to feel like you're seeing stars, because then you're affecting the carotid artery. That's what you're not doing that. You're going behind that. The other part is your belly button, and you just counterclockwise with your middle finger, and you're counterclockwise stimulating that for 2 to 3 minutes. Not to the point where it hurts, but it's going to be at the edge of where it could hurt if you press a little bit further, and you just do that for 2 to 3 minutes, up to 5 minutes, but nothing longer than that. And you'll find that you're able to just counteract these body symptoms, and your stress can be turned off beautifully. It's amazing how our body is so dynamic that we have the ability to control these things. But unfortunately, I live with years of stress, and a lot of people are victims of that same stuff because they don't know how to come out of that loop where the sympathetic nervous system has been triggered, and they don't know how to come out of it. It's easy to go into the state of mind of scary fight or flight. It's hard to come out of that unless you're really relaxing. So the things I just taught today, they are my strongest tools that I've used with wrestling with anxiety my entire life. I just recently had to use them again because of fear about thinking about a heart or a stroke situation, which wasn't even there. It was simply a bout of vertigo, which isn't life-threatening. It's scary, but it's not life-threatening. And if I ever have another bout of it, I know how to deal with it, and I'm not scared of it now. So again, hopefully you learned something. If you did, give me some feedback. Give me a post in response to this Twitter space invitation, and then I'll talk to you next time. Be safe.